The ashram is a place of living and learning, and it's up to each person what they do with that opportunity. And the highest place, or the most refined place we can get, if we can live here in harmony and work with that sense of love, and the love that flows. And so the work flows and the light flows. So we have a lot of ways to be here, and a lot of things to help us in our stay here. The light is one of the most important ones, but we all know that it's difficult to keep the love flowing. And then we get upset or guilty because it's not flowing. And then we start to justify, make excuses, and make ourselves feel bad, and then everything gets more confused. But if we can put it in the way things do flow, like we have the creek, and it's flowing quite well right now. There's lots of rocks and even logs and twigs and debris and banks and things that it has to flow over to get to the lake. It doesn't stop because the rocks are there. It doesn't stop because the logs are there. It just flows right down the bank and right to the lake. And so if we keep our focus on the flowing part, the light, the flowing love part, the flowing light part, keep that flowing instead of focusing on the obstacles, then things are more harmonious. And we learn to communicate in that way. May all my speech and idle talk be mantra. Now, where does that mantra come from? Where does that speech come from, and what does it look like? And how does it create harmony in a time when we're working on change and transition? So if we get into that confused state because we think we've done something wrong, I've just been thinking of pulling back and seeing ourselves as a speck in the cosmos. And that little tiny little wavelet that went over that little tiny rock, or that little tiny interaction you had with that person that you are living with and deeply admire and support, is that going to cause the whole day to flow uncomfortably? Or can you just move around it? Can you just let the light flow and see what happens there? It's to really take into effect like how on one level we can make the littlest things into big things, that make it into bigger things, that make it into very difficult things to live with. And so communication is a very important part of living in a community. And to take those emotions and turn them into that mantra that speaks from the deepest part of you, to turn those obstacles into learning situations while you're living with the people that are here, to make the mantra refine those emotions so that we have those emotions that are, we know they're there. Everybody has them. But to bring them, to be able to find that place in your practice to bring them forward and not dump them on somebody else, not flood them with your emotions, but let them have a stream bed that they can flow into the stream bed of your mantra. And it seems that there's so much we can do with that. Like it really does create more energy. like on a real level, like people get power and electricity from their streams and rivers. We get heat from the earth. So there's just these ways that we can make the living part more alive and more conscious. And then to realize that in that sort of stepping back and thinking things through, the speech comes out clearer. Taking time to do the mantra, the speech comes out clearer. Taking time and the patience with someone, to learn that kind of patience that doesn't need to happen right away. You can take some time and not react. You have the tools to think of the light, to think of your mantra, to think of the opportunity that you have here, that we all have. So that then the flowing part becomes very musical, very delightful, like the sound of the creek rushing to the lake, like we would be rushing to the divine. And then we can see that the work that we do together, whether it's in our interactions or in our physical work, is filled with that harmony. And then the work becomes love in action. And then people see it too, but you will feel it. So the thing to remember is that living at the ashram is for living and learning. And it's learning how to live. And it's living so that you can keep on learning. So we all have that opportunity. And everyone has that sincerity when they come and they do the work. And that's what Swami Radha said. Your sincerity is your best protection. It's the best way to not get caught up in when you look back on your life, was it a little tiny thing? In fact, you probably only remember most of them. So it's to live your life in the light, in the ashram.